This is a man who spent his entire adult life in arguments. Arguments about war, arguments about God, arguments with his own brother, and by every account, he almost never lost one.
Will publish some kind of statement saying that, because I forgot to add, the Bush administration...
In a minute, I'm going to show you the single moment that made his reputation. Someone tries to talk over him. He waits. And when he finally gets the floor, what comes out of his mouth has nothing to do with the argument he's supposedly having. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why that works, and I think you'll want to steal it. But first, you need to know where this composure actually came from, because it wasn't comfort. His father was a Royal Navy commander who helped sink a German battleship on Boxing Day, 1943, and came home to a country that had no real use for him anymore. His mother pushed him into an expensive school he couldn't really afford, telling him, and this is a real line, "If there is going to be an upper class in this country, then Christopher is going to be in it." And then, when he was 24, his mother died. In Athens, in a hotel room in a suicide pact with a man she loved. He flew there alone to identify her. He would later write that it was, in his own words, a lacerating, howling moment in his life. He never used it as an excuse for anything. He just got back to work. By his 20s, he was a committed socialist, a real one, the kind who got expelled from a political party for being too far left. And then, after September 11th, he did something that cost him almost every friend he had on the political left. He broke with them in public, in print, over the Iraq War. His own words to a former ally, their reasoning, he wrote, was soft on crime and soft on fascism. He debated it in person again and again, including one televised clash where he laid out exactly why he thought the dictator had to go. Listen.
More to become independent of a Muslim dictatorship in Indonesia. We've obviously upset a Muslim fanatic.
People called him a traitor for that, a sellout, worse. He never apologized for it, not once, for the rest of his life. So by the time he walks into the room I'm about to show you, this is already who he is, a man with nothing left to prove and nothing left to lose.
In terms of being supportive of a war against Iraq than you have.
No, and here would be why I disagree with myself, and also, if I may...
October 16th, 2006, a real recorded public debate in New York. Freedom of expression must include the license to offend. The topic that night, the Danish Mohammed cartoons and the riots they set off around the world. He's arguing for the motion. And right before his turn, one of his opponents just won't stop talking. Move one. Absorb the interruption. For almost 30 seconds, someone else eats his time, resisting the handoff. Watch his face while it happens.
Was socially responsible.
Christopher, go ahead.
Christopher Hitchens. When Dr. Samuel Johnson had finished his...
Nothing. No sigh. No visible impatience. Most of us, sitting on our hands while someone else runs out the clock, spend that time rehearsing our comeback. He just waits. And here's the principle. The person who looks calmest when they finally speak has already won the room before they've said a single word. Steal this. Next time you're waiting to get a word in, stop rehearsing your rebuttal. Just wait. Arriving calm beats arriving loaded. Move 2. Open with a story, not a rebuttal. He doesn't argue back. He tells the room about Samuel Johnson, the man who wrote the first English dictionary 300 years ago.
Dr. Samuel Johnson had finished his great lexicography, the first real...
A group of proper Victorian ladies come to congratulate Johnson on leaving all the indecent words out of his dictionary. And Johnson's real reply is the punchline. Listen.
He said, "Ladies, I congratulate you on your persistence in looking them up."
Did you catch what just happened? He hasn't addressed the cartoons debate once, but by the time that laugh lands, everyone in the room already knows his whole argument. that the people claiming to be so offended went looking for it. He never had to say that. The story said it for him. Use it. When you're about to make an uncomfortable point directly, try smuggling it into a story first. People accept a conclusion from a story that they'd argue with if you just stated it outright. Move 3. Name the trick before you argue against it. Listen to the 2 words he reaches for.
We'll see through the sinister piffle we were just treated to just now.
He doesn't dispute his opponent's facts point by point. He just labels the whole thing. And now the entire room is listening for nonsense instead of a real argument. Here's the principle. Naming a tactic out loud disarms it faster than debating it ever will. Try this. Next time someone's running a rhetorical trick on you, the guilt trip, the moving goalposts, just say what it is out loud. Naming it breaks the spell almost instantly. Move 4. The precise counter-analogy. Listen closely. This is the whole rebuttal in one image.
Balancing it precariously on their own toilet system, to be upset by what they see through the neighbor's bathroom window.
That's it. That's his entire answer to, we have a right not to be offended. Not a paragraph of philosophy, one ridiculous picture of a man climbing a ladder to peek through his neighbor's window and getting mad about what he sees. A vivid, almost absurd image beats a correct argument because people remember pictures. They forget premises. Steal this. Don't just tell people they're wrong. Give them one concrete, slightly ridiculous image that makes the flaw obvious in a single second. Move 5. Fact stack the timeline. Listen to how fast this comes.
First, they invited the intervention of 22 foreign ambassadors in Denmark's internal affairs.
And it doesn't stop there. One fact after another. No pause for reaction. No room to interrupt.
Not allowed. They violated Danish diplomatic immunity. They tried to sabotage the...
Notice what's missing. No adjectives, no outrage, no editorializing. He isn't telling you who's wrong. He's just listing what happened, fast enough that the conclusion assembles itself in your head before he ever states it. The principle, a rapid, unemotional list of facts, reads as more credible than the most passionate argument you could make. Use it. Next time you need to win people over, resist the urge to editorialize. Stack the facts back to back in order and let the audience do the concluding themselves. Move 6, the finishing move. Flip their own words back on them. Listen to what he does with his opponent's own phrase.
I don't like the reminiscence of the 1930s that is involved in a Kristallnacht against Denmark.
And then, no raised voice, no flourish. He just hands the floor back, using the other man's own name like nothing happened. Listen.
That's what needs to be
David Cesarani.
The principle. The most devastating way to end an argument is to sound like you were never rattled by it in the first place. Try this. Next time you win a point, resist the urge to celebrate it. Just move on, calmly, like it was never in question. That's what people actually remember. And here's the part almost nobody knows. That debate had a real audience vote. Before he spoke that night, 177 for his side. After, 201. The room didn't just applaud, it moved. That's not a rhetorical trick working in theory. That's 6 real techniques, changing real minds, on the record. He aimed these exact same tools at a much bigger target for the rest of his life. A year later, he published a book calling Religion Poison and spent years afterward debating rabbis, bishops, and a former prime minister using the same weapons. Naming the trick, the vivid image, the composure, his own rule, the one people still quote today. What can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. Then, in 2010, he found out the argument he couldn't win. Stage 4, esophageal cancer. And thousands of strangers, people who'd watched him destroy their arguments for years, started publicly praying he'd convert before he died.
Do you fear death? No, I'm not afraid of being dead, that's to say.
Listen to how he talked about it, completely unchanged.
I suppose, of communication of this sort.
Some people prayed he'd recover and convert. He was fine with the first half.
For me to get better. And then there are people who pray for me to get better and be converted. There's an element of blackmail to it. And an element also of tremendous insecurity, I think, on...
And some people prayed for something much darker. Listen to how he handles even that.
Also to then be reborn so I can suffer an eternity of torture.
Why me? The cosmos barely bothers to return the reply. Why not?
Same composure, same dry wit, facing the one debate that was never going to go his way. He told a reporter directly, "If you ever hear a rumor of a deathbed conversion, don't believe it. That would only be the drugs talking, not him." His widow later confirmed it. On the record, there was no conversion. He lived by his principles until the very end. He had a younger brother, Peter, who disagreed with him about almost everything that mattered: religion, politics, the whole shape of a life. For years, they barely spoke.
I think that the most interesting thing off the bat is that you're the brother of the late Christopher Hitchens.
But they reconciled before the end. And after he died, Peter wrote something that had nothing to do with who won which argument.
Is that you're the brother of the late Christopher Hitchens.
Well, that is, for American audiences, an important thing.
His brother's exact words. The one word that comes to mind when I think of my brother is courage. He died on December 15th, 2011. He was 62. So here's what I think ties all 6 of these together. And it's not be smarter than everyone in the room. Every single one of these moves is a form of not reacting, not fighting for the floor, not defending point by point, not raising your voice to be heard. He spent his whole life proving that the calmest person in the argument is usually the one who wins it, right up to the very last argument he ever had.
The Indonesian generals thought they'd rather have the territory and not the people, since the people were not Indonesia.
Quick recap. 1. Absorb the interruption. 2. Open with a story. 3. Name the trick. 4. The precise counter-analogy. 5. Fact stack the timeline. 6. Flip their words back and stay calm doing it. Which one of these have you actually seen used on you? Tell me down in the comments. I read every one. Subscribe for a new Real Moment Communication Breakdown every week. I'll see you in the next one.